I'm Stefan Baumann. Welcome to the Grand View. America's national parks through the eyes of an artist.
Fed. You know, you're not going to become a great pianist by watching other people play the piano. You have to play.
Yes.
You have to play. You teach piano, right? Does it make sense for you to go and take more piano lessons? That's motivation, and a little competition.
Yeah, you need to be
Yeah,
surrounded
you be stimulated.
by
Yes.
the same people.
Yeah, but you're not getting that on YouTube if you spend all day in YouTube going watching. There is some stimulation, there is some like aha-ness, but the thing that we want at the end is a beautiful painting. We want to be able to do that, and we don't want to be goaded into it because I request it. I want you to be inspired when you go home and you think about it and you go, oh my God, I cannot wait. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to blow everybody out of the water. That's a goal. That's like, wow. Some people that rise up to the top in some of the paintings, not all of them. Some people do it one week, some people do it another week, and it's fun to see when people are kind of playing the game. There is a little bit of a competition in my class, but that's good. But I try not to have that overpower the overall lesson. I'm always interested to see what happened. Now, you guys are not going to get the homework assignment, but I had the homework assignment 2 weeks ago that I gave my class, and it was bubble wrap. And I said, I want you to create a painting using bubble wrap. Okay? But at the end, I don't want to be aware of the bubble wrap. I want to be so amazed at the lighting effects that happen. I want to be so amazed at the composition that's created that you can't imagine the painting existing without having the bubble wrap. And a lot of my students stabbed at it. Part of it is just a curiosity to see whether or not you could. And then one student nailed it. It was like, boom. And it was a portfolio piece. That's what we're striving for. And so when I give you the thing of sewing, it's like, no, it's not a very interesting, it's a very traditional subject, but it's not the most interesting conversation or painting that we could possibly have. But if it's not that, maybe it's a wine glass and a plate, or a fish on a plate, or a duck. It could be anything. Great art can be created spontaneously on the spot. On the spot. That's how great art is created. Boom. It's like a genius comes in. And then once you are motivated, once something happens on your painting, and you may have to dink around with it for a while. So it's always good to go on the homework assignments early and play around with it. And there are times when I play around with something for a while till something starts to happen and you go, oh yes, thank you genius for showing up. This is great. There are other times your genius doesn't show up. So don't worry. He didn't show up. You showed up for work. You get the credit. But every once in a while, he pops into your house and pays you a visit, and you go, ah, yes, I love that. So the homework assignment this week was sewing. Ultimately, I did not want a sewing homework assignment. I wanted good eye magnets. I wanted a good composition. I wanted good focal points. I repeat this over and over and over again. There's like 5 things I keep on saying to my students. I keep drumming it in week by week by week. Why do I repeat myself over and over and over again? Because I can walk to my students almost every class and go, where's your central focal point? And they look at me and they go, and I go, yeah. Where's the transitions? Where's this? All those things that we talk about need to be reinforced, reinforced, reinforced. So that eventually when you're sitting, you automatically start putting those things into your painting over and over and over again. So let's take a look at some of the homework assignments. So it's almost like you're almost setting yourself up for like failing by saying, oh well, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because it's not going to be that great anyway. And yet, the students that play the game with me, the paintings that they do for my homework assignments end up being the paintings that they do when they hit it are the most extraordinary paintings they can produce. And they put them into art shows, and those are the ones that are accepted. one of my students up in Medford, she paints really well. And so everything she does, her name's Connie, and she paints really, really well. She's a fabulous painter. Anything she wants to paint, she can paint. And it hasn't been so long. Last year, 2 years ago, she said, you know what? I want you to lean on me. I want you to really beat me up. I want you to really coach me. I don't care, I'll take it. And I say, okay, Connie, I'm gunning for you. You're on my sides. So I started really leaning into her work, and she rose up out of that. And she really became a really good artist. And she is dedicated and motivated. Not only does she do her paintings, and she works too. She has a job. And she's, and she has a husband and a big house. And so she has all the things, all the excuses that everybody has not to do it. And she will go in, when I gave her the Mylar balloon thing, she chased that Mylar balloon all around the room because the wind would blow it. And finally she found a corner in their studio where it would sit still down on the floor. And she sat there on the floor and painted it. Unbelievably beautiful work. It's just amazing. She's put her homework assignments into competitions along with her other paintings. And what do you think wins the competitions? She won Artist of the Year up in Oregon for our tin can. Remember when we did the can painting? The aluminum can? She won Artist of the Year in Oregon from that can painting. And in her painting, she's got 25, 30 aluminum cans. All of them turned in every direction except one that has a gold top with a red flipper. I don't know what brand that is. That one's facing forward in the perfect spot to be an eye magnet, central focal point. So you have all this aluminum cans, all lit, all this stuff, and then here's a gold top can, and they're all smashed and, like a pile of garbage. So anyway, and I have photos of my some of these students' works. But anyway, so she's kind of played the game that she's going to make her homework assignments as important, if not more so important. And so if you start off thinking, well, I don't want to spend very much time on it, they won't add up too much. And we had this discussion yesterday, right? You said you were so unmotivated and not interested, and then you showed me a picture of the painting.
So 1 week, 2 weeks.
Trying to figure out something to do. Yeah.
And I found this jar with the spool of threads my mom had. I found it on Saturday.
Yeah.
So I took the picture, and I showed the picture to him,
and I said, oh my God, this is so awesome. I said, those are your mom's threads in there. She says, yeah. So now she's connected with it. And I said, why wouldn't you paint that? And so I said, go home and paint it. Be sure it's in tomorrow. I said, is it still set up? And she said, yeah. So she went home last night and painted it. But you might spend 2 weeks looking for something to do. But if I didn't ask you to do that, you would have it wouldn't even have dawned on you. But if you take on the idea that I'm trying to coach, and I'm just leaning into you because because I want you to become like the best artist. And you are like a fabulous artist. You are fabulous. I love the way you put paint on. I love your ideas. And oftentimes before I start a painting, I visualize what it will look like at the end. Because if I'm not inspired by what comes out, I'm going to be like you. I don't care. You have to be inspired by the outcome. Something about it that's going to keep you motivated. And I want you to be so motivated that 2 hours go by and you go, I don't have enough time. I need more time. I went 3 hours, 4 hours. I should have started it 2 weeks ago. This is fabulous. Keep on working on it. Because ultimately, aren't you in this class to make great art?
Sure.
And there's nobody in this world that will inspire you more to do that than I.
Okay.
I am totally like your coach. And as a coach, I see greatness in you, and I'm trying to push you out on the ice and say, here, dance, do something, play with it. You have the talent, you have all the skills to create phenomenal paintings. Great paintings in the museums are of stupid subject matter. If you look at Caravaggio's paintings, there's biblical stories that are just fantasies in places with, he had us look at a peasant prostitute and make us believe that it was the Madonna on her deathbed. You know, people were angry because it was just a prostitute laying there with a blanket over her. And they were angry because she was a noted prostitute. But after time we forget that, and we look at it and marvel. And then we forget it's even a biblical painting. You know, a lot of people walk by the biblical part of the museums by going, I don't want to deal with all of that. You know? And a lot of it is garbage, yes. Because there are a lot of people who just were commissioned to tell stories, and they're nothing. And then somebody like Caravaggio comes by, does the exact same thing. People doing obscene things that don't make sense. Except he lit them, and he brought them to earth. And we look at them, we marvel over them, not because of what they are, but how he did it. It doesn't matter if you paint a scene of sewing. It doesn't matter. What matters ultimately is that it have a center focal point, if it has good eye magnets, if it has good composition, are the brush strokes put on beautifully. You can make every one of these paintings absolutely extraordinary. You can have the goal to just outdo yourself every time you do this by just applying yourself. And it's not, you know, this is like Judy, she goes, she feels obligated, you know. Yeah, it feels obligated, but you have a stack of paintings that really don't work. And the only thing that's going to change is either I'm not going to come up with better subject matter, and you're definitely a good artist. The only thing is you've got to apply yourself on these paintings, change your state of mind so that you're inspired to make extraordinary things out of them. Because you can. I've seen you do it.
Okay.
And I guarantee these paintings, they'll win you your awards. Because you have the gift of seeing the whimsical side of life. You do. You really have a great way of seeing that. You're very whimsical, beautiful colors. Organized in the right way, you would like just being.
I think part of this too is painting something that people haven't seen before. Who would think of painting a crushed plastic bottle? And so when you go into someplace and see it, you go, wow, what an original thought.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, pulling stuff out of your cupboard that you would never think of to paint, or other people hadn't thought of to paint, makes it very original.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's all right here. You know, one of the questions that they ask a lot, you know, people who do this kind of study, is if Mozart were alive today, what kind of music would he write? If Beethoven was alive today, what kind of music would he write? If Caravaggio was alive today, what would he use as his subject matter?
Just were in right time, right people in right time.
Yeah, but you're the right person at the right time too. You just don't know it. And they didn't know any better than you do. In fact, they knew it less because they didn't have YouTube to sit and watch everybody else doing all of it. You know,
Time dictates art.
well, then what are we doing about dictating our art in our time? You know, one of the homework assignments that I showed earlier was an artist in class that did bubble wrap. Bubble wrap. Now, if I told you go home and paint bubble wrap, what comes into your mind? Like, well, here's one of my students that did kind of the same thing. Here's a student that did, no, this is the sewing.
Oh, how pretty.
So that's a jar of buttons.
How nice.
Yeah. So, do you care that it's buttons?
I just
What?
like the colors.
Look at the colors. Look at the lighting effect. Look at how extraordinary the lighting effect is on that. You don't think that in a gallery would show? This is another student up in Medford. This is the bubble wrap painting. So I had students just be really torn with this. But I want you to take a look at this.
Oh my.
Now, are you distracted by the bubble wrap, or can you imagine it not be anything but the bubble wrap?
It's part of the painting.
It's part of the painting. The coffee cup's kind of, see, almost like the thing is more complicated. I would have rather had just a cup. You know, but it's an antique picture that she inherited from her father.
Wow, that's like photography.
Yeah, but the thing is, it looks like bubble wrap though. And she looked at the characteristics of bubble wrap.
It's not.
It's a bubble wrap? Yeah.
So instead of using traditional materials like silk, she used bubble wrap. Now you ask yourself, would Caravaggio use bubble wrap? Because it is part, I mean, back then he used silks and he used it, because that was available, bubble wrap wasn't. So if you're an artist of your time, then you should be painting your time. You should be looking around. I mean, how ingenious would it have been if somebody were around in the 60s painting the blight of the earth, hippies. People who were alive in the 60s were thinking hippies were the destruction of mankind. Hippies were going to be the end of all kinds, you know, and their buses and all that stuff. People thought they were crazy. People thought they were absolutely crazy. But if an artist would have sat down and recorded all of that period of time and had a show now, they would have called him a genius. I lived with punk rockers. I had 32 of them as tenants in 1980 in San Francisco. Wow. 3 floors of punk rockers. Did I take the time to try to paint one of them?
No.
No. Spike, who had the lease, her hair was 3 feet on top of her head, dressed up with all of that gear and stuff like that. Do you think I had the foresight?
Did you paint them?
No, I didn't, because I was too stupid, because I was like thinking, oh, that's dumb. Why wouldn't, but imagine how awesome it would be now. How awesome, I mean, if you're a painter of your time, you got to be awake. Now, you should be painting guys with their pants hanging out, you know? Because that's kind of our style, because 60 years, hopefully, guys will pull up their pants again, okay? Seems like a long fad, but anyway. You have to be awake. Bubble wrap, it's time, it's our time. Nowhere else in history has anybody ever used bubble wrap. No else in history have we ever had plastic water bottles, you know? No. It's crazy. I mean, it's just pure nuts. But that's the world we live in. Plastic bags, Ziploc bags. You can start going through. All of these are great subject matters. This subject matter is boring because it's traditional. But what doesn't make it traditional is that you get a chance to create it. Making ordinary things extraordinary. That should be the goal. Your goal, Chris, is to say, yeah, it is kind of a silly homework assignment, but you know what? I'm going to do something that will blow them away. I'm going to use good composition, good light, good structure. This is